don't got no friends. I don't got no friends. You know what I mean? I got supporters, people on my side, and people on the other side.
It's your brother DMG the Poet. Y'all know what it is. Before we get into our spiel, I got to do my spiel. Let me say God bless to all my Christian brothers and sisters. Let me say Hotep to my Kemetic brothers and sisters. I want to say Shalom or Shalom to all my Israelite brothers and sisters. I want to say Assalamu Alaikum to all my brothers and sisters in the NOI. I want to say Islam to all my Moorish brothers and sisters. I want to say peace to all my brothers and sisters in the nation of gods and earth, them 5%ers. I want to say what's up to all my Rasta brothers and sisters. Salute to all my atheist brothers and sisters. What's up to all my Abo brothers and sisters. Big what up to all my Naga brothers and sisters. Last and certainly not least, I want to say Jambo to all the rest of my brothers and sisters all throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the wilderness of the United States of America or beyond. Y'all know I say that greeting for one reason and one reason only. It's because if you black, I'm with you. And I hope that you with me. Our different ideologies should not keep us from uniting. We can have unity without uniformity. And guess what, family? As hard as it may be, we can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. With that being said, family, let's get into it.
My name is my name. Okay. Yeah. Look, hating on me, don't stop. Only help a real cause. Hood legend on some pocket. Manifested till I'm living lost. High ballin' cause the sky falling. I'ma catch a little piece though. I ain't worried about your little. No, she easy as a free throw. She wanna hold me like ransom. Just cause I'm young and I'm handsome. Tell all these to have a seat. I know that they cannot stand them. Burn it and roll me another one. I do whatever I feel like. I remember when we dreamed about it. Woke up this morning, it's real life. Trade the whip, trade the currency. Moving like it's an emergency. We gotta check out, it's close to 11, so baby ride it with some urgency. I'm just here for the fun part, cause I'm good on the money part. I be leaving in the cold season, coming back for the sunny part. With us and get your money up. With us and get your wig split. Ever since I was a little boy, I've been plotting on the big. Bigger pockets, bigger resume. When you keep it, really resonate. If he really want it, never hesitate. If he mad at me, better meditate. You ain't gotta like it. You just gotta live with it. Never gave us nothing. Look at what we did with it. In a foreign city. Moving like I live in it. Never call them back. Bet you that they still with it. You ain't gotta like it. Nah, you just gotta live with it. Never gave us nothing. Look at what we did with it. In a foreign city. Yeah, moving like I live in it. Never call them back. Nah, I bet you that they still with it. Never had a thing running to my hamstring, cramping up. Moving like a campaign, smooth it with the plantain, damper up. Vegan baby with the yoga mat. Argue, but you know we over that. Blow me up so I can blow it back. She can't argue with the way I'm poking that. Pockets poking, I've been proud and got a recollection like it's Pokemon. If you could refrain from talking to me till my stomach full and all the smoke is gone. Pink Moscato,
I don't got no friends.
Keep the bottle.
I don't got no friends. You know what I mean? I got supporters, people on my side and people on the other side.
Let you hit again.
I ain't got no friends. All I got is supporters, people on my side and people on the other side. Shout out to all of y'all in the chat. particularly those diabolical divas. That being said, man, y'all see why we're here, man. Let's talk about the ABO movement. Now, this is a movement that I admittedly don't know much about. My aunt piqued my interest more in it when she kind of got off into it. Lady and gentleman came to her school, the school that she owned, and gave a presentation. They got a part where they convert the cafeteria into a event center. And they came and did a presentation, and it was packed, presenting this information on why they believe those of us who were given the name African American are actually native to this land. In other words, we were always here. I'm not personally, me personally, I'm not necessarily a believer in that. You know, I had the DNA test and all of that, but people make some compelling arguments about the DNA test. Y'all know me. I'm more so, I want people to be able to come up here and have they say. And so rather than me come up here and outright dismiss it, given that I don't have much information about it other than, you know, I heard some things that I don't necessarily agree with, but just because I don't agree with it, don't make it untrue. So I just I'm gonna throw the link in the chat. If you are somebody or you know somebody who can give me more information on this growing movement, let me know. Hit the link. Because I'm seeing people say that Professor James Small and Tariq Nasheed are having a falling out due to this movement. And I didn't know that Tariq Nasheed was necessarily saying that we were always here. I didn't realize that, because if you look at his movies, it don't necessarily say that. So I'm just curious about this because I didn't know it was as pervasive as it is, or as popular, maybe I should say. I didn't know a lot of people that I know and that I rock with or on that side of the brain in terms of the way they see things. So I'm just curious because I know a lot about the Israelite movement, know a little something about the Moor movement, NOI, Tribe of Shabazz. One thing about Black people, we have a plethora of alternative identities that we claim. So my thing is, if you ain't mad at the Israelites and the Moors and the NOI with the Tribe of Shabazz, and then you can't be mad at these brothers and sisters. I mean, you know, and I see that a lot of them are very passionate about that proclamation. So with that being said, I'm gonna throw the link in the chat. Hit the link and let's talk about it. Again, I'm not so familiar with it that I can come up here and really form an educated opinion. So I'm hoping, you know, y'all can school me, because yeah, I'm just not hip to it. And I've heard several things. It's all from what I've heard, and people can correct me if I'm wrong. It almost sounds like my Israelite brothers and sisters with we were replaced by imposters thing. So like the Native Indians who are said to be Native Indian aren't the real Native Indian. Kind of like my Israelite brothers say about, you know, the small hat people. They not really those people. They imposters. I wish I knew more about it. I should have went to that presentation they had at my school. Maybe I would have learned some things, because I don't know what people's position is. And so, again, if you know anything about it, if you know somebody who knows something about it, have them hit that link so they can have a conversation with your boy. I need to be educated on this particular thing, because I'm hearing some things and I'm just kind of scratching my head. So I'm just curious, because I know from a historical standpoint, a lot of our people ran away from enslavers and were taken in by tribes. Full stock, just became a part of the tribe. I know some of our ancestors were enslaved by the so-called 5 civilized tribes. And they was treated just like they was treated by Europeans. So yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm just curious, because I've heard a little bit, but I don't know how much of what I heard is legit what this group of people believes, or if it's just different lines of thinking. So, but I am hearing like the foundational Black American movement is, from what I'm hearing, is tied to the ABO movement. And again, it's all good. I just want to know a little bit more about what the brothers and sisters, what they teach, you know, what they think, what their perspective is, and all of that. So y'all, hey, help a brother out, because I'm wondering. I think it's an interesting take. I haven't heard it until fairly recently, like the last maybe 3 or 4 years. But from what I understand, have been around longer than that. And at first, I just kind of dismissed it as another situation where our people don't want to be connected to Africa. And again, that's fine. I'm gonna tell y'all a little story. I think I told it before, but I'm gonna tell it again. I was working with a white guy whose name I won't say, but he and I had got pretty tight. Had a situation with his son that he asked me to, you know, kind of counsel on, and I tried to help him out. His son was biracial. His mother was Black. Out of the blue, he really got heavy on the Trump talk. And I think it had a lot to do with what he was going through with his son's mother. But he was repeating a lot of crazy rhetoric, jumping to a lot of crazy conclusions. I remember this brother had got shot unarmed by the police, and he brought up alleged sexual assault charge that had been dropped. It was from when dude was a teenager, and the girl was like 2 years younger than him. But he brought that up, you know, like how Fox News do. And I'm like, man, this dude tripping. So somehow we got on the reparation conversation, and he was saying, he didn't think it was fair that Black people get reparations. And so I'm like, why not? His words were, I grew up poor as well. Why should you get reparations and I don't? And so I said, so if you grew up poor, with the head start that your people got on mine, that's kind of your fault. And I'm trolling a little bit, but I'm dead serious. And so he couldn't conceive of it, right? And so I told him, I said, why did other marginalized groups in this country get reparations? He was like, what are you talking about? I say Japanese people whose ancestors were put in internment camps got restitution for that under Ronald Reagan. And the United States had good reason to go with the internment camps because Japan attacked them in Pearl Harbor. But because it was a bad look to put them in these camps, they gave them restitution for it. Now, same thing with Native Americans. Because of the mass genocide that occurred, they got a form of restitution. They got sovereign land. You can't go up on no reservation tripping, thinking the same rules apply, because they don't. That's their land. I remember me and my man Captain K got into an argument about that. He didn't feel like it was sovereign land when it is. Like, they got their own schools and everything. But nevertheless, and I know some of the conditions up there, but that's on them. That's on them. Like, I ain't got nothing to do with how they keep their crib. I'm just saying they got a crib. And long story short, me and this brother would end up clashing several times. And then he told me a story about how he married an African woman so that she can get her green card. He had got cool with her brother as they were both prison guards. And he was like, they from Nigeria. And I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, I be seeing you with your dashiki t-shirts and your African necklaces and stuff. He don't feel like you African. Now keep in mind, I beat the brakes off of him on that reparation conversation. So he been looking to get his lick back from an argument standpoint. And so he trying to get me to argue with him about whether me and this brother are the same. He had a whole fit because he couldn't understand why somebody called a Black woman from Nigeria the N-word. Because in his mind, his exact words were over and over, she's African. And that got me to thinking, because at the time I'm heavy in my Pan-African vibe. You feel me? I'm in the Kemetic temple and all of that. And I'm trying to be fly with it. You know, I got the fancy dashiki t-shirts, my jeans, my Timbs, my necklaces, and like I'm trying to be, you know. And so I got all of this regalia on, and this brother from Nigeria comes to me and he says, I hear you claim to be from Africa. And I said, I don't claim to be from Africa. I claim to be an African, being that's who my people descend from. And he was like, yeah, if I asked you where in Africa you from, what would you say? And I was like, I would say I don't know, because my history was erased due to transatlantic slave trade. He's like, yeah. But if you ask me where I'm from in Nigeria or in Africa, I would say Nigeria. You say, where in Nigeria? I say Lagos. You say, where in Lagos? And I keep going. Like if I ask you, if you're from the United States, say yes. And I ask you from where? You say Missouri. And I say, where in Missouri? You say St. Louis. And then you continue on. I'm like, okay. He was like, yeah, I don't understand why you would say you're African when you've never even been to Africa. And again, this is a man from Nigeria, accent heavy, the whole demo. Telling
Can
me
I say something to you, DMG?
I'm gonna get to you in a second, bro. And
I'm like, all right. Meanwhile, the Caucasian brother is over there smirking because in his mind, he like got him because here I am projecting all this Black power, Pan-African energy. And this African who cool with this white guy is coming up here to get me straight on behalf of the white guy. And that told me a lot about the mentality of a lot of people from over there. In a 2-week span of that happening, a cat from Ghana called my sister a cotton picker in one of her TikTok videos. And I'm like, okay, they really don't rock with us like that. And I'm hearing a lot of the rhetoric going back and forth between FBA and the Pan-African movement, right? And in the middle of that, you have this Abo or Aboriginal movement. I only say Abo for lack of a proper term. So if it's a more proper term, let me know. But you got that movement where they saying, listen, we're not even African. We was always here. So, get on with that African stuff. What homeboy say, I forget his name, he say the slave trade happened in reverse. So it's some interesting things in motion. And again, I'm not familiar enough with the Abo movement to myself really have an educated opinion. I think opinions need to be earned. I know everybody entitled to one, but I think they need to be earned. So I'm not going to sit here and cast aspersions on the movement that I haven't studied enough about. But again, if you have any knowledge about it, hit that link, man, and educate your brother. My man, Jose, what you got for me?
Yeah, man. I think on YouTube there are two particular proponents of this movement who are Dane Calloway and legendary Top Cat. And quite frankly, either they don't know any better or they're not too bright. I don't know which one. I can't tell you. I don't know if they really believe what they're saying. Because you're going to write a book. Dane Calloway wrote a book. Each chapter is about 3 pages long. And then you argue the culture. And then you see them dressing up with caricatures of their own people on their jersey, on their shirt, getting called out for cigar store Indian pictures saying that that's your ancestor. So you tell me how bright the movement is. You tell me how serious you should take it when this is what's happening to them in real time. You don't even know that because Jabari called them out on Sandetta. And the man said, this is some chief. And when he checked it out, it was a picture of a cigar store Indian. It wasn't a real person. And they went caricatures of Native Americans on their jerseys and saying that they are proud of their culture. But they have a problem with Pan-Africans who don't do that. We don't do that. We don't walk around with caricatures on your jersey disrespecting something. We don't do that. But you're arguing. You have no real history to even
I saw that debate with him and Jabari, and I was like, so I hope he's not representative of the entire movement, bro.
Yes, that's pretty much the IQ of the Abo movement on YouTube. That's it. It ain't gonna get. It's not gonna get much higher than that. Sorry to tell you that, DMG. That's it. That's pretty much it.
That was bad, bro.
You saw it, right?
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, that's it. Hold on a second there. Somebody calling me.
All right, do your thing. But yeah, family, like I say, hit the link and come holler at your brother. If you know somebody, if We got Wall Street Willie in the building. What's up, brother? Educate your bro.
Peace, family. Yeah, it's just a totally factless, goofy movement and argument, right? And when you just take it slow. You have to look at the people who represent this movement, right? They're going up against John Henry Clark. They're going up against Ashwar Kwesi. They're going up against Dr. Ben, some of the greatest minds for Black thought of our time. And who are these people that are going against them being Aboriginals? Top cats. Smoke signal, right? Like, if you just take it slow, you realize how goofy it is. The reality of it is Tariq Nasheed, right, is an unbelievable grifter. And he figured out a way to grift a movement. I always wanted to start a religion. I said I could start my own religion, right, and get my grift, because I respect a good grift, right? He has grifted a lineage, and he has made this false claim that can't be substantiated at all. And the unfortunate truth is, because of a lot of the politics between Black people, not only in America, but across the diaspora and on the continent, there's a lot of angst between different groups, and in particular, Black Americans. So unfortunately, we very easily fell in a ditch to reject our true history, what actually is. And it's just really unfortunate. But they start saying things like, they speak Tutnese. And our ancestors were celebrating our Tusiicius Day, right? Has your family ever celebrated our Tusiicius Day? Look it up. December 24th, they've created their own FBA Aboriginal holiday. And they'll tell you your ancestors were doing these things. Well, find me, because they always lie on their grandmama. My grandmama said we Indians. Show me a grandmama speaking Tutnese.
Yeah, I'm not even familiar with the term you use, bro. So no, I would say we never celebrated that.
Yeah, I'm not even familiar with the term, bro. The term is probably 2 years old. Most of this stuff is just made up. And it's being grifted, right? First with Hidden Colors, and now you have the Hidden History Museum, right? And it's all a brand. And it's all a brand that's just being done to profit or for confused people. And it's sad.
All right, we got, hey, my brother, I'm not going to butcher your name, but you can say it for us. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
My name is Defeats the Enemy. I go by the name of Mr. Phil Fox. I'm actually a good friend of BK Apologist and Sister Michelle Turner. She's the one who messaged me in the back chat and said, "Why don't you come talk about this?" Because I am of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation. I am a full-blood Native American who can track my ancestry back to before we had last names, European-style last names. And so yeah. Before I get started, of course, I gotta shout out where I am coming to you from. I'm coming from live from the land of the Anishinaabe and the Potawatomi. These are not my original homelands. This is now known as southwestern Michigan, the suburbs of Detroit. And again, these are not my ancestral lands. My lands are in what is now known as North Dakota. And so that's where my people come from. And most of you probably never heard of my people, but we are in the history books, because you've probably heard of who you would call Sacagawea.
Yeah.
Sacagawea is a mispronunciation. Her name is actually pronounced Sagagawea. Sagaga meaning bird, and Wea means woman. And she was where Lewis and Clark, when they were coming through the Dakotas during the early 1800s, they got caught in a major blizzard, and they were stationed at Fort Abraham Lincoln, which is now south of what is called modern day Bismarck, North Dakota. And it is through my tribe, one of my tribes, the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara people, where they picked up Sacagawea, Lewis and Clark during the Discovery Corps and during that winter. And so she led them west because she had knowledge of the western foothills of the Rocky Mountains because she was a Shoshone. And so she helped lead them west and get through, and and because she was indigenous and she had those roots, she knew at least how to communicate and how to basically, trade and barter with some of those tribes that were further west. And so that's a little bit about where I come from and my people and those types of things. So.
Well, hey, listen, thank you for jumping up here. Let me drop a bomb for my sister, Michelle Turner, the best moderator in the business, for reaching out to you on my behalf. I've seen that you said in the chat that reservations were not restitution. Can you elaborate on that? Because if I'm wrong about that, I want to apologize out front and then let you break that down.
Yeah, so reservation lands are not considered restitution because these lands, even to this day, these lands are not, although they are considered quote unquote our land. This land is still held in trust by the U.S. government. So I cannot do anything. I cannot actually build, or I cannot farm. I cannot do anything with my land unless it is cleared by the U.S. government. So to say we have sovereignty over these lands, we cannot do that. Everything needs to be cleared by the U.S. government, and these lands are still held in trust by the U.S. government.
Wow!
And so,
thank you for that.
So and a lot of these guys who want to parade as indigenous people don't understand what it means to be truly indigenous to these lands. Because for us to be indigenous, we are still considered domestic dependents upon the United States. So African Americans actually have a higher status than the indigenous people still do in these United States, because we are still considered property of the United States government. Because are you familiar with these several branches of the government? And so they have like the Department of Interior, right? Do you know what the Department of Interior is?
I do not. I've heard it before, heard it used,
Yeah.
but I have no idea what they do.
Yeah, so the Department of Interior is the land and animal management branch of the government. So that's where Department of Interior is where all the wildlife, all the wildlife studies, all the land studies, and that's where all the national parks are under. That's where all of those things are funded under. And so if any animal goes on the endangered species list, like that's the branch that manages that. That's the Department of Interior. But under the Department of Interior is the BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and the BIE, the Bureau of Indian Education. Under the land and animal branch of the United States government is where our bureaus are housed. Not Department of Foreign Affairs, not even the War Department. We are still considered property on these books of the United States government. Hence, we are still domestic dependents. So that's the status that the United States government still has us today on these books. And also, there is also different legal precedents that is set for us. There's a different set of laws that are on the books called Indian law. You can go and look it up. And so these guys who want to parade and masquerade as indigenous people, they don't want to be indigenous because they don't understand truly what it is to be indigenous, because that's what it means. They're sacrificing even their citizenship. We are considered dual citizens of these lands. We have to be dual citizens in order to exist and to maintain here in the United States. And in Canada, the same thing is in Canada. And so
Wow. So
these are some of the misunderstandings and the things that they don't understand.
yeah. And I apologize. My wife and my daughters are cleaning up right above my head. Y'all brothers can chime in with the brother till I get some of this noise cleared away.
I mean, that brother, he definitely deserved a bomb. Like, that was very accurate information he was given. I'm not totally, up to speed on the specifics of his people and whatnot, but everything he was saying about the relations between America and the actual indigenous people who were here, spot on. So salute to you.
Amen, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah, my people are more specifically have the tie to the U.S. government from the 1851 Fort Laramie Treaty. So some of these guys who claim to be indigenous, like, they don't even know what treaty their tribe entered into in agreement with the United States government. Because first of all, they can't identify which tribe that they are. Many of us understand and know which tribe we are. There's even unrecognized, either federal or state recognized tribes, and there are unrecognized tribes that many people identify with. And a lot of these guys that cosplay as indigenous people, they couldn't tell you which tribe that they're from. When many of us know, we understand and know who we are. We understand. We have a language that we speak. We have our own stories. We have our own cultural ways. We have our own life ways, and we're not all just one homogenous type of people. We are different tribes. My tribe is not the same as the Sioux tribe. My tribe is not the same as the Blackfoot tribe. My tribe is not the same as the Omaha tribe. My tribe is not the same as the Potawatomi tribe. And all of those tribes that I just mentioned, they all have their own different life ways. They have their own different ceremonial ways, religious practices, languages, some of them similar, but yet distinct and different. They have their own origin stories. They have their own creation stories. They have their own clan stories. And again, these guys who are cosplaying and trying to propagate, like Mr. Calloway or whatever his name is, I've seen some of his stuff, and he makes massive leaps and bounds in his ideology when he's talking about some of these things and some of the treaties and whatnot that he mentions.
Correct. There's no linear connections in the argument. Correct.
Yep. Yeah, they're major.
You're being nice. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's grifted. He's looking to make money. So he's talking stupidity. That is what he's doing. He's making no sense. He could write a book and each chapter is 2 pages. That makes no sense. He's not teaching anybody anything. So when you sit down and watch him for 8 hours, what are you watching? What are you watching? What are you contributing to when you contribute to these people? Nothing. Because they probably don't believe what they're saying either. They can't believe what they're saying.
On a scholastic level, a lot of this conversation started with Ivan Van Sertima's book and claim that we came here before Columbus, right?
No,
Which since has been debunked.
But here's the sad part: you're going too far when you're talking about these people. You don't have.
I get what you're saying, bro. I get it.
That's not. Don't waste your time with that conversation for anybody who's calling themselves cowboy.
I get it.
That don't even make no sense. Because they're not going to understand what you're saying. Because if you say you love your people, you can't walk around with a caricature of a Native American on your shirt and then get mad when people call you out for doing it. You can't do that. You can't be wearing chicken feathers and pigeon feathers on your head, and when they ask you what they mean, you don't know. You can't do that.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Right. And that's also too stuff that really upsets me about some of this cosplay stuff, because for us, see, like, I'm indigenous. I don't just put on a war bonnet or feathers or any of that kind of stuff just because I'm indigenous. And that's also a subtle hint to me that they don't understand and know our actual culture. Because in order to wear certain regalias, in order to wear certain, what people would call jewelry and those types of things, like, those things need to be bestowed upon you in order for you to wear feathers, in order for you to adorn any of your accomplishments or any of your anything that you have that you wear. In order to have feathers and have the right to wear that stuff, it needs to be earned. So I don't just have feathers and things that I wear even and just wear it because I'm indigenous. No, those are things that I need to earn. And those are things that I need to achieve the right to have. So I don't just go around and I don't just go to the nearest native store and buy a headdress and throw it on and then go on a live stream. No, those are things that need to be given to me by my elders or by those who are in authority, who might tell me, listen, you need to wear this because of an accomplishment. It's something that you've done. And yeah, that does really upset me, because and it shows me their ignorance, because they just throw on feathers and put on war paint. War paint is not something we just put on. That's also a reason why I have a very difficult time with some of these, even these sports teams that are wearing cosplay makeup and putting on this war paint. No, for us, that's a high honor in order to be able to even put on that paint on your face, even to put one line on your face. Those things are passed down generationally. Those designs that people put on their face, when you see a native wearing paint, those have been passed down through generations. They have a story about what that particular design means. And those designs usually come from a certain family. And that design was worn by one of their relatives who has been gone sometimes for generations. And even some of the paintings and some of the symbols that people wear they're wearing those because the stories go even before the paleface was here. So
let me ask you a question, if you don't mind, brother.
Yes, sir.
How has how can I ask this? Is this movement within Black America, has the whatever notoriety it's gotten, has it gotten back to your people, and are you guys discussing it, or is it something that hasn't really garnered much attention?
So for us, it hasn't really rung any alarm bells, really, within the larger population. There's some of us who are sort of fighting these types of movements, but we've seen this for generations, right? We've been fighting the U.S. government. We've been fighting, the different portions of the so-called church that have been trying to appropriate our indigenous culture to fit their particular theological narrative, i.e., the Mormons and those types of things. People who tell us, now dealing with the Hebrew Israelites and those types of things, people trying to tell us who we are and tell us what we know and understand. So this isn't new for us. You know, this is something that we've been dealing with for a long time. So it doesn't really bother us per se. And you know, and we know that this is just another fad. This is just gonna be something that, you know, it's gonna, again, it's, you know, no knock on African Americans, but, you know, unfortunately, African Americans are searching for identity because their identity has been robbed from them. You know, and we've been able to survive despite the U.S. government trying to rob us of our heritage, trying to rob us of our languages, of our ceremonial ways, of our practices. And, you know, so again, this is, you know, it's not really hitting the mainstream, or it's not something that the elders are concerned about or any of that kind of stuff, because like I said, we've seen it time and time again. You know, it's just another group of people who are just trying to hijack our identity and our life ways and cultural ways. And the funny thing is too, is, you know, if as indigenous people, we have very, very robust adoption ceremonies. Like, if you really want to be part of a tribe, legitimately, there are ceremonies and things where you can get adopted into a tribe. You can, and we don't go by this idea of blood and all that kind of stuff. That's a construct of the Europeans and the Paleface. They're the ones who I thought of this idea of the one drop rule. And for us, blood quantum, the one drop rule was to help create more slave babies, to create more free labor. For us, they created the blood quantum rule to breed us out, so that way we could give up more land. So the less quote unquote native you are by degree of Indian blood, the quicker they can take the land from us. And so it's crazy how those two things are actually counterintuitive and are complete opposite of each other. One, they're trying to create just by a single drop, now you're black. And then the other, because of how little indigenous you are, now you're not Indian. Make that make sense. So,
it's almost like the opposite tactic on each group.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yep. So yeah. So I guess, you know, a long way to say it is not really. It doesn't really sort of bother us in general, but these type of shenanigans are going on in the background, and real lives are being impacted. Real lives are being hurt. And, you know, I'm a Christian apologist, you know, so I'm battling this in the forefront of, you know, trying to mitigate as much damage as possible.
The conflict between the two. Yeah, I'm with you.
Let me ask you this from a apologetic standpoint. So one of the things that we get in the Black community when you believe in Christ is that Christianity is the white man's religion. Christianity was given to your ancestors by the enslaver, etc. Mm-hmm. Therefore, you shouldn't engage with this belief. As an indigenous man or person, mm-hmm. and a Christian apologist, do you get some of the same blowback as it relates to it being the white man's religion? Or allegedly the white man's religion?
Yeah, it's funny because that's why I fit in so well with, you know, guys like Alfredo or BK Apologist, you know, and a lot of the urban apologetics community is because we're fighting the same exact battle. It's the same argument. All the arguments that you would find in the African American community, those are the same arguments that I'm getting as an indigenous person. Is, you know, why would you go with, the colonizer stuff? But see, I mean, again, some of that stuff is that my indigenous people are not being intellectually honest, because we borrowed from each other all the time. We just like in the ancient Near East, right? They would borrow practices from each other. They would see something that this culture group would do and see the beauty in that way of doing things culturally or even religiously, and they would adopt that into their own culture. And it was the same way with us. We would even pay other tribes to adopt their ceremonial practices, and we would ask and borrow, or we would trade. They'd say, hey, you know what? I like that ceremony and how you did that. I will teach you how we do this, and then give us the right to perform the ceremony that way. And let's trade. And so there was a lot of that cross-pollination going on within the indigenous tribes. But all of a sudden now we forget that when it comes to Christianity. And it's simply because it's because of the hurt. And rightfully so. The church has done some legitimate stuff, and that's also what I'm fighting against as well. Is I'm fighting against the church and this false ideology of Eurocentrism. I'm fighting on that front as well. So I'm not trying to propagate or trying to sell this whitewashed Christianity either. That's not what I'm about.
What I find is people have, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was rhetoric from like the NOI days that kind of stuck, but it seems like we get Europeanism superimposed over Christianity. And the idea of Christianity is automatically tied to Europeanism for whatever reason, when they're actually two distinct things that don't even really, outside of a co-opting by a particular empire, they don't line up with one another.
Correct. And this is a good build, because in terms of even the intellectual honesty that the brother spoke about a couple minutes ago, you can even see in the church Black Americans defining themselves. One of the cornerstones of most Black American communities, if you go back to the 1800s, 1700s even, it was that African Methodist Episcopal Church, right? So our people were already defining themselves. They knew who they were. Our people were already defining themselves in the moment, at the time. Our ancestors, they knew who they were. We're rewriting the script, and it's all based on, like I said, conjecture, politics, frustration, hurt, as the bro said, but it's not dealing with intellectual honesty.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, because I noticed that, because people will say certain things, and it's like, you're talking about Europeanism, colonization, white supremacy. You're not talking about Christianity. And then when you start talking to them about Christianity, they stand on what they said, even though they acknowledging that, well, that don't line up. And it's like, so why are you saying that this is what this is when I'm clearly giving you an example of how it's not? That is one of the most frustrating conversations I think I have with people, is that superimposing of one thing over another. So I put my number and my email in the private chat, bro. If you look in there, if you would, I'd love to interview you just on the apologetics part of it alone. Never mind the fight that you have with our Abo brothers and sisters and our Israelite brothers and sisters who say all Native Americans. You so eloquently pointed out that these are different tribes, much like Africa was different tribes of people with different cultures, with different beliefs. This is one of the reasons why I always chafe when people say Africans enslaved Africans. No, you put respect on Europeans' name. You say Rome enslaved Gaul. You say Rome subjugated Israel. You say Rome enslaved the Thracians. I believe Spartacus was a Thracian. You say they came into conflict with Britannia, what would become Britain and all of that. You put respect on their name, but when it comes to African conflicts, you just say Africans enslaved Africans, when it really was warring tribes fighting over resources with prisoners of war who were sold as slaves. And then when that market became what it was, that practice continued. But they never put that respect on the African name. They just say Africans enslaved Africans. With your people, I see a similar thing, in particular from my Israelite brothers who say every Native American, with I think exception of one, is the tribe of Gad. Like, how, given that you told us these are different tribes with different social cues and stuff like that, how preposterous is it to make that statement?
Well, I mean, for one, they're acting as if every tribe is the tribe of Gad, that we are one tribe, when there are clearly these delineations in language, in culture, in ceremonial ways, and but not only that, there are many other things that they don't like to talk about, but there are many archaeological things, there are scientific things that destroy their narrative. So there are things like this 1-year-old child that was found in Montana. His name is the Anzac 1 child. I have peer-reviewed articles that show him, and his DNA goes as far back as 13,000 years ago. And the ancient Israel didn't exist until about 6,000 years ago. So this child was here, and there was already showing that that we were here already, because his DNA ties 80% of North, Central, and South American indigenous peoples to that child. So it's impossible for us to be the tribe of Gad. And then not only there are leaps and bounds in logic to try to differentiate the tribe of Reuben, who are the Seminoles for some reason. And the Seminole people, we have to ask which Seminoles are they talking about? Are they talking about the Seminole proper, that are now were driven out of the South and that are now headquartered in what is now called Oklahoma in Indian Territory? Or are they talking about the eastern band of Seminole that are now still in and that are in Florida, but they're not just the Seminole, they are also remnants of the Creek people and remnants of the Cherokee people.
An amalgamation of multiple tribes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so we have to ask that. So again, there are 12 tribes chart, and I know that not every Hebrew Israelite group attains to a strict version of the 12 tribes chart, but they still try to create that narrative and stick to that narrative. And at least the One West variety of Hebrew Israelite still sticks to at least some version of the 12 tribes chart. And it's impossible for us to be the tribe of Gad or the tribe of Reuben, or to try to delineate any of the island tribes, the Taínos, or any of the South American tribes. And because all they're doing is just going by geographic location and just trying to divvy it up somehow and have some loose tie to the, to each little blurb of what tribe is stated in the Bible. And so yeah, and again, like, I've done a whole video on this. I have a YouTube channel of my own, shameless plug, and I'm sorry to
Oh no,
mention it here, but
please do.
yeah, so yeah. My brother BK, appreciate you, bro. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, BK and the whole Urban Apologetics crew, those are the guys I run with. BK's been on my channel. I've been on his plenty of times, and so we've attacked some of these things. So, but I've done a whole takedown on IUIC. Actually, IUIC, they messed up and used one of the chiefs that are part of my tribe. They tried to propagate some of that information that is from my tribe, and I'm sure they picked some random picture, but they completely used it completely out of context to try to propagate a narrative which was completely false and untrue. And so I went through and completely demolished their understanding of they were trying to say that this picture depicts like a blood brother pact, some stereotypical kind of pact that indigenous people or native people or Indian people do, and all this types of stuff. And it's like, they're doing is using white supremacy, but doing it in blackface. They're using the same colonial tactics that the Europeans used, and they're just slapping blackface on it and then trying to tell us who we are as indigenous people. So, but yeah, so that's some of the stuff that I've gone through and addressed, throughout my time. So yeah, that video is up. You can go look at it. I've done a couple videos on IUIC, and then I've actually done some videos with Alfredo too, or BK Apologist. Sorry, I keep using his government name. My bad, bro. but yeah. So, and then DMG,
everybody over here knows. Everybody over here knows that.
I sent you a text, bro. Yeah, I sent you a text. Just confirm you got it, bro.
And DMG, one more thing. You'll never hear that Abo community.
Appreciate it.
You'll never hear that Abo community want to have that conversation with him, right? Someone that knows his lineage, knows his people, their history, and can put it in context in terms of America. You'll never hear them argue that with them. So now they want to argue with other blacks who accept, respected history. And it's all just based on the fact that white people gave you this history. And first off, that's a lie, because most of our true history, they tried their best to hide from us, right? So it's not like the truth was just given to us by white people. But their argument for being Aboriginals is typically based in, no, the slave trade was a lie. It wasn't that many people. Where are the boats? But they won't deal with the actual tribes that have established treaties and can connect themselves to things in history. They don't want to talk to him. You get what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Yeah. The funny thing is too, is they always use the same kind of pictures, and I know exactly where they come from. They always use the tribes that were first contact. So they were all Eastern tribes. So any of the pictures they use where the indigenous people look like they're black is because they had black lineage within their ancestry. They had slaves that ran away, and I told you earlier, the tribes, we didn't have this this fundamental idea of blood quantity, where you're 50% indigenous and you're 50% European or whatever, or your ancestry ID or whatever. Like, we don't have that concept. So for us, it was all about survival and strength in numbers. And so for us, it didn't matter what you look like, what color you were. If you were able to fight and you wanted to be part of our community, then you became us. You were tribal then. It didn't matter what you look like. And so that concept was there for a lot of the Eastern tribes. So they did absorb some of the escaped slaves, some of the slaves that maybe were freed or, got away, and they would get absorbed into these native communities. And so, yes, there are a lot of tribes that look like they have African American heritage within them. And there's no problem with that. But again, to your point, like, they won't talk to us, or they don't want to argue with us who understand and know these treaties and know, where in the history books we're at, because they don't know how to deal with us that understand and know these our lineage, our heritage. And a lot of them don't even understand this stuff. They'll talk about the things like the Dawes Act, but they don't know exactly what the Dawes Act did and what that meant as far as, regaining land and those types of things back from us.
Always the go-to, the Dawes Act.
Yeah, the Dawes Act. Yeah, yeah. But what did the Dawes Act really do? There's other things that they pulled from. There's other treaties and ways that they broke them. But they always talk about the famous ones, but none of them. Then they don't know about the Fort Laramie Treaty. They don't know about that. That encompassed, the Fort Laramie Treaty touched about 80% of the northern central tribes that go all the way from Oklahoma all the way up to North Dakota into Montana and in the foothill regions of the Rocky Mountains. So they don't know that. They want to deal with these pictures. They want to set up these straw men and show those type of pictures where they're clearly they had African American lineage, and there's no problem with that. I don't have beef with that, but I do have beef if you're going to try to say that, oh, no. See, look, you all replaced us, or y'all killed us, or y'all, the government took away and yes, the government didn't know what to call these different types of people, and the government played all kinds of different racialization practices against even these different tribes, even against the tribes. They had the 5 civilized tribes, the civilized tribes, the rest were uncivilized. So the government did all these kind of semantic games and all that kind of stuff for time immemorial.
Wow. Yeah, you definitely educated me today. So I appreciate it, because again, I was under the notion that, reservations meant sovereign land, etc., having no idea that the USA still held those lands in trust, and that you guys actually have to get permission to do I don't know if it's certain things or just pretty much whatever.
Anything. Yeah. We have to go through them so let's say I want to homestead my land and put a house on it. That has to go through the BIA, which is a government run authority, and they have to approve it. Or if I want to make my land grazing land for cattle or whatever, I have to go through the BIA and get it zoned for that. I can't just buy my piece of land or inherit my piece of land and then do whatever I want with it. I have to go back to the government and I have to get approval from them.
And it's a big part of what keeps a lot of Native American groups subjugated. They can't grow freely. They can't produce freely, so yeah.
And bro, to your point, brother, again, everyone wants to be native until it's time to be native. So if I build a house let's say I build a house on my land. That house does not appreciate. That house actually depreciates because, again, that land is owned by the government. So, you know how they talk about generational wealth and you have to own land in order to do that? So actually our land, once it gets to a certain point, it's called fractional and marginal fractional land. And that might not be the exact terminology, but in Indian law, once it hits a certain diversity in the land or is fractioned up to the point where, let's say, my daughters inherit my land and they own like a tenth of an acre each, then the U.S. government has the right to come back and take that land away because it's become so fractured. And so again, like, we don't have that ability to create generational wealth as if let's say you buy a piece of property, you build a house on it, and the rule of thumb is that house is going to appreciate. It's going to become more valuable the longer it's there, and as long as it's maintained and upkeep, all that kind of stuff. But on the reservation, our houses do not appreciate; they depreciate, and they don't become an appreciating asset. It actually becomes more of an asset that is usually these houses either get lived in or they get abandoned because someone might not want it. So family moves, they move to a more populated area because reservations are usually pretty rural. So, and again, reservations were legitimately put away from the city centers, and railroads were not. I mean, you can go and place all the railroads, and you can plot, paint a picture or print out a picture of the United States, and then where all the reservations are, and you can literally take the railroads where they were. All the railroads go around the reservations, and all the reservations are away from all the city centers. So those were meant to be death camps. We were meant to be forgotten.
Wow. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna hit you up so we can get into that. I'm gonna go with my man Willie Wall Street, man. Close out, let the people know where you at, bro.
Yeah, just ungoofify yourself. Like, there's nothing shameful about your history as Black Americans, and don't become the same colonizers, right, that you claim stole everything from you and rewrote history. Now you're trying to do that to another people. And when you look at our history, we have had connections, but a lot of times, people are just making goofy gumbo. They take a portion of truth, throw that in there with some Moorish teachings and some Hebrew Israelite teachings, and they stir it all up in a pot and throw some Ivan Van Sertima. They came here before Columbus, and now you just have a giant goofy gumbo. It's not a real lineage. It's not history. It's not facts. So I definitely appreciate the indigenous brother that came up here to break some things down, because I was all about kicking in abo backs today. So y'all really made my Thanksgiving worth being thankful for. So salute to the panel, man.
That's what's up, bro. Hey, Jose, talk to the people. Tell them about your channel, bro. You still there, Jose? Jose done fell asleep on us. All right, my man, Mr. Phil Fox, who I am going to be reaching out to. I got to chop it up with this brother. It's crazy because, see this, hey, BK, Don Alfredo, I ask you a favor. From now on, man, you gotta hit me to people like this, man. Shout out to Michelle Turner for reaching out to the brother. Let the people know. I put your link to your channel in the chat a few times, but let the people know about your channel and everything you got going on.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, I'm
and I ain't mean to cut you off. You just got a new subscriber. I'm gonna check you out.
I appreciate you, Doc. Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I've been fairly inactive lately, just because I've been dealing with some of the in real life stuff. But I'm a Christian minister, Christian apologist, but I'm also a indigenous follower of Christ. I know and understand who my people are, and I talk to both sides. So I try to make content that speaks to both. And like it was discussed earlier, I take on both fronts. I speak on multiple fronts. So I speak of the heresy that the church has propagated and that the church has done, and the atrocities that the church was involved in it's regarding to my indigenous people. And then I also call out the inconsistencies of my indigenous people when it comes to their view of Christianity, and try to correct that narrative. So, and then also, I put out content to try to, inform people and warn them against some of these false groups, like, some of these abos. And, I haven't really touched on the abo stuff, but some of it's akin to the Hebrew Israelite stuff. And so, I've been doing the urban apologetics, regarding the Hebrew Israelites, and just, knocking down some of their false claims and their false narratives regarding my indigenous people. And then I've done a really deep dive, in-depth look at the doctrine of discovery. So if you're interested in that and how it impacts the modern day church and the modern day culture of the United States, I have a 2-part video that's about 5 hours worth of content, looking and doing a deep dive into the doctrine of discovery. So some of y'all may have heard that throughout, some of the conversations and whatnot. And I actually have some interviews with some of the foremost experts on the doctrine of discovery as well. So you can go and check that out. But yeah, I'm on all your socials, Mr. Phil Fox, on all your socials. Hit me up on any of them. I'm available. I'm a down to earth dude. I'm not up in the clouds or anything, too busy to take a message or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm pretty heavy on Facebook, but I'm on all your socials, Instagram, Snap, Twitter, all of it. So, and hit me up. So yeah, Mr. Phil Fox on all your socials, and Mr. Phil Fox on YouTube, and yeah, you'll find me on BK Apologist channel from time to time too. So come check us out over there too as well.
Definitely check this brother out. Subscribe to his channel. Always check out and subscribe to my brother Don Alfredo, the BK Apologist. We call him the boss of all bosses when it comes to urban apologetics, giving non-believers an offer they can't refuse. Real quick, family, I think this kind of brings to mind, as y'all know, I'm the Black existentialist, I like to say. And Frantz Fanon, like I showed in my debate with Mandinka Mali, is probably the foremost thinker in the Black existentialist philosophy, Africana critical theory, etc., along with many others. But I think his work stands out as a foundation for what a lot of the brothers and sisters in that philosophical line of thinking assert. And he has a quote where he says, and let me make sure I'm not about to say the wrong one, but where am I at? Okay. It says that the Black individual, or he describes it as a existential deviation. And what he says is what exists now with our people is an existential deviation, where as a result of the removal of language and culture of origin, the Black individual and the Black collective have had to simultaneously define and redefine identity, culture, and existence. And when you think about that, and you think about all of the different identities that we claim, be it the Moors of Morocco, the tribe of Shabazz with the NOI, we're the real Jews, as the Israelite brothers say, the Rastafari movement. Now you have, the Abo movement. And I think it comes from this existential deviation. Again, where as a result of the removal of language and culture of origin, the Black individual and the Black collective have had to simultaneously define and redefine identity, culture, and existence. And I think that's what we find ourselves doing with these different claims to these different identities. For whatever reason, we do not want to be, a lot of us, I should say, not all, but a lot of us don't want to be connected to what was just a common line of thought, a common knowledge, so to speak, as far as where we came from. And now you have this existential deviation for whatever reason. So we will eventually get to the bottom of it. Y'all know, as I always say, cream rise to the top, and we're gonna figure it out. And I think as long as we open to having conversations like this, we can eventually gain an understanding. As I say, we can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. And, we can't have unity without uniformity. I think that's as much a Christian thing as it is a Black existentialist thing. So y'all know what it is, man. Tomorrow, we got the Diabolical Divas coming back. They having a conversation with our brother, Cannon. So y'all come back and join us tomorrow night for that. Saturday, we have Honey Clark versus Quinn. The question is, for a woman, is beauty an advantage in modern American society? Two powerful sisters will have that debate. I think it's an interesting topic. I think it's a timely topic. Is beauty an advantage in modern American culture? We'll see, and we'll get to the bottom of it. Okay, brother, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Peace,
Definitely.
family.
Appreciate you. And family, I'm definitely gonna be reaching back out to that brother as well. So y'all come back for the debate. Pan and KOT will be having a face-off Sunday as we march towards our first Zoom pay-per-view. Those brothers will be contending for the Versus Series social media title. That face-off will be Sunday at 7:15 p.m. Also, if his schedule allows it, Haru Consciousness or Haru Conscious will be making his return to the Versus Series this Sunday as I interview that brother. So we got a lot going on. The post show, the fallout will be immediately following Saturday's debate, where you will get the results from the judges. In some instances, it'll be from the judges themselves, or they may write in to me. We might get a mix and match thereof, but either way, you will get the results directly following the debate in the Versus Series fallout. So y'all come on Black and Rock with us. Got a packed weekend. Shout out to the Diabolical Divas. If y'all haven't seen it, check them out. Every Sunday, 6:15 p.m., the Diabolical Divas will be on Ladies Night with yours truly, DMG. And for those who haven't seen them in action, check them out.
is my name.
Yeah, yeah, ay. Diabolical divas. Diabolical divas. Diabolical divas. We're the ladies with the tea, spilling truth on every mic. Breaking down the games, men play, yeah, we're calling out the hype. Strong, bold, beautiful, we say what's on our minds. Welcome to Diabolical Divas, where the real talk always shines. Oh, Diabolical Divas, say it loud, say it clear, no fear, no filter. Oh, Diabolical Divas, if it's about men and madness, girl, we're right here. Ay. Diabolical divas. Diabolical divas. Diabolical divas. We're the ladies with the tea, spilling truth on every mic. Breaking down the games, men play, yeah, we're calling out the hype. Strong, bold, beautiful, we say what's on our minds. Welcome to Diabolical Divas, where the real talk always shines. Oh, Diabolical Divas, say it loud, say it clear, no fear, no filter. Oh, Diabolical Divas, if it's about men and madness, girl, we're right here.
All right, family, y'all know what it is, man. Come back, join those powerful queens tomorrow. They having a conversation with our brother Cannon, and they will be back this Sunday with Ladies Night. So again, packed weekend, family. Y'all be here for it. We'll be black at it to bring it all to you. Till next time, it's your brother DMG the Poet, aka Brother Pianki. We out. That is peace.
I don't got no friends. I don't got no friends. You know what I mean? I got supporters, people on my side, and people on the other side.
It's your brother DMG the Poet. Y'all know what it is. Before we get into our spiel, I got to do my spiel. Let me say God bless to all my Christian brothers and sisters. Let me say Hotep to my Kemetic brothers and sisters. I want to say Shalom or Shalom to all my Israelite brothers and sisters. I want to say Assalamu Alaikum to all my brothers and sisters in the NOI. I want to say Islam to all my Moorish brothers and sisters. I want to say peace to all my brothers and sisters in the nation of gods and earth, them 5%ers. I want to say what's up to all my Rasta brothers and sisters. Salute to all my atheist brothers and sisters. What's up to all my Abo brothers and sisters. Big what up to all my Naga brothers and sisters. Last and certainly not least, I want to say Jambo to all the rest of my brothers and sisters all throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the wilderness of the United States of America or beyond. Y'all know I say that greeting for one reason and one reason only. It's because if you black, I'm with you. And I hope that you with me. Our different ideologies should not keep us from uniting. We can have unity without uniformity. And guess what, family? As hard as it may be, we can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. With that being said, family, let's get into it.
My name is my name.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Look. Hating on me, don't stop. Only help a real cause. Hood legend on some pocket. Manifested till I'm living lost. High ballin' cause the sky falling. I'ma catch a little piece though. I ain't worried about your little. No, she easy as a free throw. She wanna hold me like ransom. Just cause I'm young and I'm handsome. Tell all these to have a seat. I know that they cannot stand them. Burn it and roll me another one. I do whatever I feel like. I remember when we dreamed about it. Woke up this morning, it's real life. Trade the whip, trade the currency. Moving like it's an emergency. We gotta check out, it's close to 11, so baby, ride it with some urgency. I'm just here for the fun part, cause I'm good on the money part. I be leaving in the cold season, coming back for the sunny part. With us and get your money up. With us and get your wig split. Ever since I was a little boy, I've been plotting on the big. Bigger pockets, bigger resume. When you keep it, really resonate. If he really want it, never hesitate. If he mad at me, better meditate. You ain't gotta like it, you just gotta live with it. Never gave us nothing. Look at what we did with it. In a foreign city, moving like I live in it. Never call them back. Bet you that they still with it. You ain't gotta like it, nah, you just gotta live with it. Never gave us nothing. Look at what we did with it. In a foreign city, yeah, moving like I live in it. Never call them back, nah, I bet you that they still with it. Never had a thing running to my hamstring, cramping up. Moving like a campaign, smoothie with the plantain, damper up. Vegan baby with the yoga mat. Argue, but you know we over that. Blow me up so I can blow it back. She can't argue with the way I'm poking that. Pockets poking, I've been proud and got a recollection like it's Pokemon. If you could refrain from talking to me till my stomach full and all the smoke is gone. Pink Moscato,
I don't got no friends.
keep the bottle.
I don't got no friends. You know what I mean? I got supporters, people on my side and people on the other side.
Let you hit again.